Hello, everyone. Greetings from Entebbe, Uganda. My name is Dr. 𝐶𝐤 𝐂𝐲𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 Fellow. I'm also a senior lecturer of conservation studies and tourism at 𝐂𝐶𝐞 University in Uganda. I would like to welcome you to our workshop 2 today at the Conservation Symposium. And I would like to thank each one of you for choosing to participate in the African Wildlife Economy special session on the Conservation Symposium today. I would like to first take this opportunity to thank 𝐓𝐡𝐞 in Africa for hosting us, and pass on my regards to colleagues at the African Wildlife Economy Institute, especially Prof Voice, for giving me the opportunity to chair this session. Yeah, I'm co-chairing this session with Jordan Timbisa, and in our workshop 2, which focuses on intra-Africa wildlife tourism, we are having 5 presenters, and I will go through very fast. The first is Professor Joseph Mbaiwa, who is an 𝐓𝐴 Fellow and Director at the 𝐶𝐲𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐮𝐬 Research Institute in Botswana. Professor Joseph will be presenting on a topic, Saving Botswana's Wildlife from Botswana, the trophy hunting ban and eco-colonialism in Botswana. Then I will also have Professor Pitt, I hope I have pronounced that one right, Professor Pitt, who is from the Tourism Management Faculty at Northwest University, South Africa. And Professor will be presenting on a topic, how much do hunters spend in South Africa? Yeah, our third presentation is a combined one, and it is for my colleagues from 𝐂𝐶𝐞 University here in Entebbe, Uganda. That is Mr. Otan Dennis Odong and Mr. Moses Talibita. The two will be co-presenting on a topic, leveraging on the Africa Free Continental Trade Area to promote intra-Africa wildlife tourism. And our last presenter will be Ms. Sheila Munshabe, who is the coordinator of Wildlife Friendly Enterprises Network. She will be presenting on a topic, Wildlife Friendly Tourism Standards and Certification, enabling conservation of endangered species and sustainable tourism. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to this session, and I hope you'll enjoy our session. Over to you, Professor Joseph Mbaiwa.
Good morning. I would like to talk to you about how can we grow the African tourism? How can tourism in Africa be grown to be made big? And my name is Joseph Mbaiwa. I come from the 𝐶𝐲𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐮𝐬𝐢 Research Institute at the University of Botswana. This is my presentation outline. I'll first introduce the topic to you. Then I'll talk a bit about economic development and wildlife-based tourism. I'll talk about challenges of intra-African tourism. I'll talk about drivers of intra-African tourism and later conclude. Tourism on the African continent is on a positive growth. I think all of us, we are aware that despite the challenges that COVID brought to Africa, tourism has started gaining ground and it is growing very fast in Africa. Tourism numbers on the continent have grown at a rate of 8.6% over the past years, as compared to a global average of 7%. When it comes to tourism, Africa is the fastest growing market in the world. Tourism is advocated for as an alternative strategy for economic development, especially in less developed countries and in Africa as a whole. Tourism is perceived as a catalyst to improve trade and development within the regions. Governments in Africa encourage tourism because of its potential to grow the national and regional economies. Wildlife-based tourism is a key economic sector in most of our African countries. As such, wildlife is a tourism product that supports tourism and generates benefits that sustain the welfare of the people, especially those who are living adjacent to tourism destination areas, especially the protected areas. Wildlife-based tourism is seen or is perceived as a pillar for national development in Eastern, Central, and Southern Africa. This is to say, Eastern, Central, and Southern Africa, when they perceive tourism, they see tourism as a key to economic development. Governments perceive this wildlife-based tourism as a mechanism to alleviate poverty, generate foreign revenue, and contribute to wildlife conservation. Wildlife-based tourism is thus perceived as a tool where countries can use it to grow and diversify their economies while protecting their biodiversity, hence contributing to the sustainable development goals. So tourism, in other words, or wildlife-based tourism, in other words, is perceived as a way to promote sustainable development and achieve the SDGs. I would like to move on and give a bit of some examples when it comes to the economic development and the wildlife-based tourism in Africa. About half of all wildlife watching tourism in the world is actually in Africa. The global market size of wildlife-based tourism has been estimated at 12 million trips annually and is growing at a rate of about 10%. So this is to say, a year. This is to say, wildlife-based tourism is growing very fast, and it is actually the largest in terms of market. The leisure tourism market in Africa represents over half of the international tourism arrivals to Africa and is characterized by high-end trips to top wildlife watching and nature destinations. This is to say, most of the international tourists who arrive in Africa, they come mostly for wildlife-based tourism. And you'll find that the most established tourism products in Africa include safari tourism, beach resorts. People visit Mombasa, visit Cape Town, visit Durban. People come for business, and there are those who come for the diaspora tourism, especially in West Africa. We have a lot of Black Americans or African Americans visiting West Africa, Ghana, to visit the slave castles there. Most African long-haul markets for Africa are from France, United Kingdom, United States of America, Germany, and Portugal. This is to say, the developed world, they mostly visit Africa. Smaller markets include tourists from other European countries such as Canada, Australia, and of late, China and India are coming in as tourists visiting Africa. Southern Africa is known for wildlife-based tourism. Photographic tourism and trophy hunting are key in Southern and Eastern Africa. But when you come closer home to Southern Africa, you find that countries such as Botswana, Namibia, and Zambia, as well as Zimbabwe, they have a very good, successful model of community-based wildlife tourism. These countries have actually promoted what you call community-based natural resource management. And most of the clients, they come for wildlife in visiting facilities which are managed and controlled by the communities which are living adjacent to protected areas. In Central Africa, especially in Uganda, Rwanda, guerrilla tourism is key. Guerrilla tourism has brought a lot of economic and social benefits to communities that live in adjacent to protected areas in Central Africa. Now, what is the challenge? Although tourism in Africa is growing, there remains a significant challenge to grow the levels of intra-African tourism. Many of the African tourists finding it easier and more attractive, they travel overseas. This is to say, we have African tourists, we do have them, but when it comes to visiting Africa, most of them, they will rather visit Europe, America, Asia, instead of visiting other African countries. That is to say, we do have a lot of visitors traveling outside Africa instead of traveling to visit areas within Africa. However, when they travel leaving Africa, they leave behind in Africa what we call, some pristine environments in terms of the beaches, in terms of flora and fauna, in terms of scenery. When you talk of the Sahara Desert, for example, the savanna grasslands of the Masai Mara, we have all this beauty in Africa, but we still have a lot of our people traveling outside Africa for tourism purposes. I'll just highlight a few challenges here, challenges of intra-African tourism. The biggest challenge really is the visa. Visa is the biggest challenge in the sense that it's not easy for some countries to allow nationals from other countries to visit them. We don't have like a common visa, like the Schengen visa in Europe, where you can visit almost 16 to 20 countries with one visa. So the visa issue is a challenge. One will be required to pay for a visa to visit Botswana, a separate visa to visit Zimbabwe, a separate visa to visit South Africa, which becomes so expensive. So traveling becomes a challenge. Air connectivity. Most of the African airlines really are a challenge. I only know of Ethiopian Airlines, Kenyan Airways, which are doing well. South African Airways, at some point in time, we were told it is doing well, but I don't know whether it's still the case today. So generally, air connectivity between Africa is a challenge. At times, if you want to fly to an African country, you have to fly via Europe first, flying either British Airways or Air France in order to visit some of the African countries, and you are coming from Africa. So it's still a challenge. Lack of harmonized country regulations. Our rules, really, our regulations that govern tourism and wildlife at times really are not harmonized. We look at the SADC region, we need to be having regulations and rules and policies which are harmonized. Lack of inter-country collaboration. There's also a challenge where countries at times don't collaborate with each other, don't talk to each other. The lack of infrastructure, transport infrastructure, tourism infrastructure, it's a bit of a challenge in Africa. Hence, it becomes difficult for tourism to flourish. I'm told to visit some of the mountains like those in Tanzania, Kilimanjaro. You'll drive for a very long time before reaching some of those destinations, which really could have been made easier if the road transport, the land transport was improved. So what can we do really to improve intra-African tourism? We need to improve accessibility. Africa needs to improve, we need to improve our roads. We need to make the tourism destinations accessible. As long as they remain inaccessible and difficult to reach, it becomes a bit of a challenge. We need to improve information dissemination. People need to know, we need to market our destination. We need to market our products. People need to know what is where. I just talked of infrastructure development also that needs to be improved, the connectivity there. We need to have reliable roads, reliable connections with airlines. We need to have good air communication. So infrastructure really is key to tourism development. There's a challenge of negativity when it comes to reporting about Africa. The media in Africa at times really it's either it can be African media or European media or Western media. You'll find that when it comes to reporting about Africa, we're only told of the wars, we're told of the famine, the killings. We are not told of the beauty of Africa, and that Africa is beautiful and can be visited. So we need to improve on that media reporting of Africa. Business tourism also needs to be improved. I'm told Rwanda of late has improved its business infrastructure. Well, we know in South Africa, they do have good infrastructure for business tourism. We need to improve that. Not only business tourism, including medical tourism. Johannesburg, Pretoria, the hospitals there which people in Africa usually visit, but that is not well marketed. So business tourism, medical tourism, all those need to be marketed and they need to be made known to the world. Inter-African trade should be promoted since it will increase regional tourism and trade, hence bring countries together. African countries need to collaborate to promote trade. We need to trade between African countries. We need to promote regional tourism as well. ECOWAS, SADC, we need to promote tourism in these regions. SSO, when somebody comes visiting the SADC region, they should be able to get one visa and visit all the SADC countries. Or if they visit ECOWAS, they should get a visa that will enable them to visit all the ECOWAS countries. So I think we need to improve on those if at all we want to improve regional, and if we want to improve tourism in Africa. In conclusion, really, I want to say that Africa has a big market of about 1.2 billion people, which we must exploit to our advantage by increasing inter-trade and inter-travel amongst Africans. We're a big market and we need to do something about that. Africa has the richest and most diverse range of humans, natural, cultural, religious, and historical attractions complemented by a warm tropical climate, warm people, great accommodations, and great food. So we have everything. So we need to promote tourism. You know, we have everything. Africa has got everything. Africa is exceptional when it comes to the mammals, the big five, the elephants. So we have everything. So we just need to promote it to make tourism in Africa to grow. Countries in East and Southern Africa are known as the world's top destinations when it comes to the big five that I just talked about. So Africa should really promote the big five, and we should actually make other Africans visit other African countries. I long to visit the Masai Mara in Kenya. I should go there one of the days. Africa should therefore really address issues of tourism infrastructure, tourism investment. Really, without those, it's going to be difficult for us to grow tourism in Africa. The African media as well, it needs to be improved. We need to reduce the negativity, and we need to promote the beauty of Africa. We need to move away from reporting bad things all the time. Publicity of Africa needs to be positive. And if we do that, promoting our flora and fauna, domestic tourism, cultural tourism, if we do that, we'll grow tourism at home. Maybe because of the bad media, you end up having other Africans leaving Africa, visiting the developed world as tourists, while there are beautiful places they can visit in Africa. I'm not saying they should not go out there, but what I'm saying is we need to promote Africa, portray a positive image of Africa so that people should visit Africa. So this is my presentation, and with that, let me say thank you very much.